I'll get that wild.
I threw it away.
What?
I threw it away. I got patted down twice tonight.
So you're all right with him. That'll make it easier.
Easier for what?
Easier to wear a wire.
David Caruso is a car thief who's trying to go straight and finding that very hard to do in Kiss of Death, one of 5 new movies we'll review this week on Siskel and Ebert. We'll also look at the new comedy about Stuart Smalley, the 12-step guru, and Pauly Shore in Jury Duty, the story of a man so desperate he wants to be sequestered. I'm Roger Ebert of the Chicago Sun-Times.
And I'm Gene Siskel of the Chicago Tribune. Our first film is Kiss of Death, following an ex-con back into the world of crime where his adversaries are both the law and other crooks. David Caruso, in his first film since leaving NYPD Blue, has genuine magnetism as the crook Jimmy Kilmartin, who is begged by his sleazy cousin Ronnie, played by Michael Rappaport, to help him drive a rig of stolen cars.
Jimmy, this guy's gonna cripple me, man. He's gonna cripple me. I'm your blood cousin, Jimmy. I'm your blood cousin. You know that. It'll take 2 hours, man. Please don't let this happen.
Naturally, the job is a bust, and Jimmy lands back in jail, but is given a chance at freedom if he'll help the cops nab a small-time crime boss. The law enforcers are played memorably by Samuel L. Jackson, he's everywhere these days, and Stanley Tucci.
All I want now is what I had in my life. I want to be left alone with my family, and I want a job that feels good to me. So if that means I need to deliver up this Junior Brown, I'll do that. But all I've got on you is your word. So I'm asking you, if I serve him up, as a man of honor, would you say to me now that you will cut me loose once and for all time?
The guy Jimmy's supposed to nail is a true creep, played with relish by Nicolas Cage, an actor displaying maybe the biggest range around right now.
You don't like the taste of metal in your mouth, huh? Open up. Come on, Junior. Say ah.
You saw what I did to Omar. Guess who's next?
Kiss of Death has a great pedigree. It was directed by Barbet Schroeder, who made the Klaus von Bülow story Reversal of Fortune. It was written by Clocker's novelist Richard Price, who did the Hustler sequel, The Color of Money. Schroeder uses his same production team as with Reversal of Fortune, cinematographer Luciano Tovoli, and the fine American production designer Mel Bourne, so that we have a great-looking film with dialogue and emotion that feels very much of the street.
I found it to be a major disappointment, and in particular, I'd like to talk about 2 of the performances. The problem with the Nicolas Cage character is that, as written, he is not smart enough to be the person that he's supposed to be in this film. He appears to be extremely retarded, and yet at the same time, he's allegedly running this mob, and that's very curious.
First of all, it's a small group of thugs. He is a cunning, street-smart guy. He's like an animal, and I think that's the way he's played. I didn't find a problem with that performance at all.
Okay, then another performance is David Caruso. I didn't find him with any charisma, with any screen presence. He seemed to me very laid back. He was doing one of those kind of low-key television-type performances. He didn't really come out of the screen or grab the material or deal with the material in any meaningful way.
Actually, in television, they tend to be hotter, Roger.
No,
I think that's why they do. They move around too much when they get on the big screen. I thought he was just right. In fact, I've never seen him in NYPD Blue. I didn't even know exactly who it was when I saw the performance. I didn't recognize his name in the credits. And so when I saw it, I said, hey, this guy has really got the goods, whoever he is, and I think it's a real strong performance.
And then another problem is the meandering, disorganized screenplay. It's all over the place. What's happening now? What's this happening for?
It's a complicated screenplay. I don't agree with you in a single criticism of this film.
Well, then that makes it mutual. Okay, next movie, and our next movie is Jury Duty, starring Pauly Shore, an actor who, for me, is the cinematic equivalent of long fingernails drawn very slowly and quite loudly over a gigantic blackboard. To watch him for a short time is unpleasant. To watch him for a long time is insupportable. In Jury Duty, he plays an unemployed layabout who obviously got all of his brains and most of hers from his mother.
I'll find something, Ma. You just don't worry.
Oh, look no further, Mr. District Attorney.
What's that? A jury duty notice?
My son, the lawyer.
Eventually, she and Tommy's father throw him out, and suddenly he's delighted to be called to jury duty because it means he'll be sequestered, which for him means fed and sheltered.
Welcome to the El Presidente Suite, your new home away from home.
Wow. Every day isn't a holiday. Every day's an orgasm.
Tommy doesn't make an ideal juror, as a fellow member of the panel, Tia Carrera, soon discovers.
So what do you think?
About what, you're sleeping or you're drooling?
And here's an example of the movie's general humor level with Abe Vigoda as the judge.
What in God's name are you doing here?
Your Honor, I don't think it's fair that you guys get to have your own little powwow over here where we can't listen. We have to hear too for information.
You're a juror. Get back in that box.
Now, Gene, on a recent show, you accused me of being too soft on the actors in the movies that I don't like.
I think it's more than that. I think you're too soft on naming just names in general, whether actors or directors or producers.
Well, I'm sorry if I was too soft on David Caruso, but in particular, you said I was too easy on Chris Farley and Tommy Boy. Well, let me tell you something. I'd rather attend an entire Chris Farley Dusk to Dawn film festival than sit through any 5 minutes of Jury Duty. I felt like I'd been sequestered. This movie stinks.
Well, let's get back in agreement here.
Okay.
It does stink, and he is annoying. And it's not annoying like Jim Carrey, where there's a comic strategy to it. He's just aggravating. It's a disaster. Coming up next, Saturday Night Live's Al Franken takes his recovering 12-step character Stuart Smalley to the big screen in Stuart Saves His Family.
Darn you, Mom!
Darn you, Mom!
I'm Stuart Smalley. Ever since I was a kid,
Go! Go! Go!
I knew there was something wrong with my family. My father grew up in the Great Depression. His mother.
That's Al Franken as Stuart Smalley, the sweet, recovering overeater and traumatized son of a bad drunk in Stuart Saves His Family, a feature film based on a terrific Saturday Night Live sketch. And unlike most of the Saturday Night Live inspired movies we've been getting lately, this one works. It's smart and hip and doggone it, I like it. Stuart has a self-affirming public access TV show, but as the movie opens, he's lost it, giving him yet another crisis, which conflicts with his waiter's job where Stuart can't help but give advice to the customers.
You know, the Ossobuco is extremely fatty. You might want to try
I'll try the Ossobuco. And also the mixed baby field greens.
low-cal vinaigrette
Creamy Caesar.
on the side.
On the salad.
Another crisis, the centerpiece of the film, is that Stuart is drawn back into his dysfunctional family after his aunt dies. Back home in Minnesota, Stuart explains to his timid little mouse of a mother, played by Shirley Knight, a veteran with a nice piece of work here, the source of his problems.
Are you on the phone?
Yeah.
Well, I'm sorry. Who you're talking to, sweetheart?
A friend.
Oh, someone I know?
It's my sponsor from Al-Anon. It's a 12-step group I joined because I come from such a screwed-up family.
Another key character, Stuart's alcoholic brother, played by Vincent D'Onofrio. Stuart has advice for his brother's boisterous bar buddies, and the words sound right, with just a slight comic twist.
I think you're acting out the shame and powerlessness of that tiny, frightened child that's still inside of you. And you might feel a lot better if you could say to your inner child, "Hello, little child. I'm going to protect you."
Actually, the biggest source of trauma in Stuart's life is his miserable, boorish father, played memorably by Harris Yulin.
Look happy! All right. Damn it! Find another road!
Stop it, you maniac!
Sure. Come back!
No! Oh, my God!
Everybody smile!
What I really like about Stuart Saves His Family is that something quite delicate is being attempted here. Al Franken's script has a core of reality and sensibility. I've read that he himself has been through a 12-step program, so he has the words right, and he just gives them an extra little spin so that they're sweet and clever, just like Stuart himself. It's a smart, funny picture.
It really is, and I was surprised because I thought that that sketch might not expand to a whole movie, and it does. And you know, at the end, this movie has more courage than a lot of presumably more serious films. They don't wrap everything up.
Well, the father...
People are still in recovery at the end. They don't have all their problems solved.
Right.
And the father says, if that's what recovery is like, I'd rather go to jail. And out he walks. And this movie, you're quite right, has a sweetness about it and a truth about it, in addition to a whole lot of good laughter.
Well, let me tell you, you know, satire closes Saturday night. And when do you get real satire? Now, this is sort of high-level writing.
Yes,
I
it
think
is.
This is a picture that I hope gets a reaction from the audience, because it's a good piece of work. And I suppose I left out, and we both left out, Al Franken's performance.
Yes.
I mean, he writes the character, but he also plays him and holds our attention throughout.
It's a good movie. When we come back, Leonardo DiCaprio in the Basketball Diaries, the story of a kid who goes from hoop dreams to heroin in a few short months.
There I am, Jim says. Mickey takes out a bottle of carbonic cleaning fluid and suggests we do a little sniffing to get high. After 4 deep whiffs, we're sailing someplace else.
Hey, Mickey, what are you doing?
Leonardo DiCaprio is a high school basketball player and would-be creative writer who gets touchy when his friend Marky Mark there looks in his private notebooks in a scene from early in the Basketball Diaries. The movie is based on a cult novel by Jim Carroll, who based it on diaries written when he was 17 and dropped out of high school and into the deadly New York drug scene.
What are you going to tell me? They're vitamins?
Oh, Ma.
What? Get out of my house!
The movie alternates between moments of sordid rebellion and moments of poetic sensitivity, as in this scene where the survivors play basketball in the rain after the leukemia death of one of their friends. The movie's a little too eager, I think, to include scenes like this one where the young hero is initiated by a woman who equates drugs and sex. This is more of an adolescent fantasy than a possible reality.
This one's, ribbed for extra pleasure.
So what are you waiting for?
What do you mean?
Take off your clothes.
The scenes I like the best and which seem most grounded in reality involved Ernie Hudson as a local man who has been through the drug scene and tries to help this troubled kid.
Give it to me. I'll cut your throat, Reggie. Give it to me, all right? Just give it to me.
I suppose the Basketball Diaries has its heart in the right place and is trying to communicate an important message, but the movie never really worked for me, and one problem was Leonardo DiCaprio and the first performance by this gifted young actor that, for me, was less than successful. I think maybe he was simply miscast in this story about hard-boiled street kids. I also thought the movie lingered lovingly over the scenes of drugs and degradation and hurried past the more positive scenes as if they were sort of a duty. The result is a movie that's hard work to watch and without much of a payoff.
I didn't care for it either, Roger, and I was surprised because it has, as you mentioned, all of the right motives and all that sort of thing. And I think it's a one-note movie. I think that we know that a good kid getting involved with bad drugs ends up with a lot of problems. The scenes went on so much of him in distress that I thought I was watching an actor's exercise.
In fact, at the end of the movie, it's kind of curious. He walks in through something called a stage door, and you think he's going to an AA meeting or an NA meeting, but then after he gives his little talk, he's applauded by people in the audience, and you don't know, is this a performance? Or is it a meeting? The movie doesn't really have the nerve to declare itself
I think it's
other.
clearly a performance based on the works of this novelist, who also did his writing, I think, in the 60s. Yeah. And this movie has been jumped up to the present day, and I think there are glitches in how the story is played because of that.
Coming up next, an animated musical film called The Pebble and the Penguin.
Look how we get along together. Incredibly annoying.
public service announcement as far as I'm concerned. The Pebble and the Penguin is a junky children's cartoon feature, and I feel sorry for families that are roped into seeing it. Let's start by knocking it by just looking at the drawing style. It seems cheap and unfinished and often dark. The Pebble and the Penguin, what a great title that is, huh? Is the story of a shy, chubby penguin named Hubie, voiced by Martin Short, who loves a girl penguin named Marina, but doesn't ever tell her.
Goodness glaciers! Marina!
The bad guy in the piece is the evil Drake, voiced by Tim Curry, and he has his own plans to destroy Hubie and marry Marina himself.
Our children will be the strongest, the smartest, the bravest, not to mention the best looking.
So much for the penguins. What about the Pebble? Oh, that's the way penguins mate. They give their betrothed a pebble. Hubie's comes from a meteor. Looks cheap.
Oh my. It's perfect.
And none of the songs is the least bit memorable. I know that you can't hum a single one of them. And if you do know how, don't. Now, the stakes on animated musical features have really been raised of late, and The Pebble and the Penguin falls very short of that standard. But hey, that may be too complimentary. This would have been a bad film if it had been released in the 1950s. You are warned.
Now, Gene, I agree with everything you said, and I want to add something else. Why do animated cartoons color code themselves so that children get this subliminal message that if you have a darker complexion, you're the bad guy? This happened in Aladdin, it happened in The Rescuers Down Under, it happened here, where all of the penguins, basically they're kind of black around here, but then the good penguins, the rest of their face is white. But the bad penguin, Drake, the rest of his face is chocolate brown. Now, why would that be? I mean, it may look like I'm just looking for something, but I've never, ever seen an animated cartoon where all the good guys are kind of dark brown and all the bad guys are white. They have this color coding, and it ought to stop.
Well, they'll get that message if they're in the theater, but I think they're going to be out of the theater buying candy very early in this picture. This is a film from the Don Bluth production company, and he made Thumbelina recently, and now this. I really think he has to connect with his glory days of past, with The Secret of Nim going, and The Rescuers going back 20 years almost. The stakes have been raised in animation, and he isn't up to speed.
When we come back, one of my favorite movies is on video at last with one of the most unforgettable villainesses in film history.
I didn't want anyone but you.
Siskel and Ebert's Video Pick of the Week, brought to you by Orville Redenbacher, the first and last name in popcorn.
During the last year, a lot of attention was paid to Linda Fiorentino's terrific performance in The Last Seduction as one of the most uncompromisingly evil femme fatales in movie history. If I were going to look for another performance to compare with that one, however, I wouldn't have to look much further than the amazingly twisted woman played by Jean Tierney in Leave Her to Heaven, a 1945 film noir that won her a nomination for Best Actress. In the film's virtuoso opening scene, Tierney meets a strange man on a train, played by Cornel Wilde, and deviously mesmerizes him.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was staring at you, wasn't I? I didn't mean to, really. It's only because you look so much like my father.
At first, they seem to have an ideal life in the lakeside ranch home they share with his younger brother, but there's something deeply wrong with this woman who grows insanely possessive.
You like it here, do you?
Every minute. If only it weren't so crowded.
Crowded? Why, this is the most remote, uninhabited place east of the Mojave.
I mean the cabin. Not that I mind chaperones, not in the least. But there's Danny's room on one side of us, and Thorne's room on the other side, and the walls as thin as paper, and the acoustics disgustingly perfect.
Leave Her to Heaven has a creepy quality all its own, and like The Last Seduction, it doesn't cop out at the end. It was made during the 40s, a period when Hollywood allowed women to play a lot of strong and evil characters, unlike the 50s, where the majority of movie women seemed to regain their innocence. But not even Barbara Stanwyck in Double Indemnity was more unforgivably depraved than Jean Tierney in Leave Her to Heaven, which has just been released on video and is my video pick of the week. Now let's take another look at the movies we reviewed on this program. A split vote for Kiss of Death with David Caruso as the victim of his own crimes and Nicolas Cage as the bad guy. He liked David Caruso. I didn't think Caruso worked. Two enormous thumbs down, though, for Jury Duty, starring Pauly Shore in one of the more obnoxious performances of modern times. But 2 affectionate thumbs up for the sweet and surprisingly funny Stuart Saves His Family, starring Al Franken as a guy who's dealing with a seriously dysfunctional family. It's a wonderful film. 2 thumbs down, though, for the grim but unfocused The Basketball Diaries with Leonardo DiCaprio as a high school athlete who gets hooked on drugs. And 2 more thumbs down for Don Bluth's The Pebble and the Penguin, a flabby animated feature about a penguin who swims halfway across the Pacific and a story that treads water.
So the real discovery is Stuart Saves His Family. And I also like Kiss of Death. I think you really are off base on that one.
Well, okay, that's it for this week. Next week we'll be back with reviews of more new movies, including the offbeat romance, A Pyromaniac's Love Story, with William Baldwin using fire to prove his love for beautiful Erica Eleniak. And also the romantic comedy While You Were Sleeping with Sandra Bullock, torn between brothers Peter Gallagher and Bill Pullman. That's next week, and until then, the balcony is closed.
Skin so soft, Sun Care Plus. Waterproof sunscreen, bug repellent, moisturizer in one. You can call your Avon representative or 1-800-4AVON. Remington's Triple Foil, the only shaver with 3 narrow micro screens designed for those hard-to-shave places. If you can grow it, we can shave it. Remington Triple Foil. Finally, a panty that won't go where it shouldn't. A panty that actually stays in place from Fruit of the Loom. Clothes that make you feel good. Jergens Refreshing Body Shampoo for a clean that never felt so good. Squeeze for yourself.